Good afternoon, teachers. I'd like to take a couple of seconds to talk about Technology Project 1 since we're not going to be able to meet. I'm not going to read all of this to you. You can do that. I just want to give you the highlights about what this project is. Technology Project, like the other projects, are each worth 30 points. This is a two-part project, and you will see over the course of working on the three projects that there are similarities, for example, the reflection part. But for this particular assignment, what I'm going to ask you to do, and what I'm doing here, is I'm combining two technologies. I want you to learn about learning management systems, LMSs, but I also want you to learn about digital stories. I don't have the time to teach both of them anymore, so I'm going to have you create a digital story about a learning management system. Now, in the past, I had students evaluate multiple learning management systems. So, for example, I gave them a list: Google Classrooms, Schoology, Edmodo, EduBlogs, Wikis, etc. And they explored those various technologies and picked two to compare and contrast. Now, I started with a learning management system in the early 2000s. I was in grad school and was working on Blackboard at the university. But at that point in time, I was a classroom teacher. We did not have a classroom management system. We didn't even have a place to put our grades online. We were still putting them in the red grade books. But I loved Blackboard, and I wanted to have Blackboard in my classroom. And so I learned about weblogs at a conference I went to, and I thought, I can turn this weblog into Blackboard, and that's what I did. I'm a huge proponent of learning management systems as a form of communicating and collaborating with parents and students. There are numerous benefits to using learning management systems in your classrooms. For example, if students are absent, they can go and they can find out what they've missed. You're thinking, oh, well, I'm a kindergarten teacher. They're not going to go there. Well, their parents can go and find out what they missed for the day. It's a way for you to differentiate your instructions for students who are ADD, and maybe you gave them the assignment, you gave them a worksheet for them to take home and complete. Well, somewhere between your classroom and home, that worksheet disappeared, as Frost would say, elves, and that student is not going to be able, due to their learning difference, to be able to complete that assignment. Well, if you have your assignments online on your learning management system, then they don't have to worry about that. And the list goes on. We'll talk more about that over the course of the semester. But for this assignment, you're going to create a digital story about a learning management system. And I have narrowed that, due to student feedback, to just looking at Google Classrooms. And the reason that I've selected Google Classroom is because that is the way JCPS is moving right now, is towards Google technologies. And student feedback recently has said, hey, I wish I would have learned or would have focused on Google Classrooms, because now I'm using that in my classroom during my student teaching. Having said that, if you're in a school, like let's say Sacred Heart, that uses Schoology, or Nativity that used to, I'm not sure if they still are, using Edmodo, or maybe you just want to freelance and you want to use Google Sites or EduBlogs or something, that's fine. Check with me first, though. Just get confirmation that it's okay for you to do that prior to using that. But what you're going to do for this assignment is you are going to explore Google Classrooms, all the various aspects of Google Classroom. You're going to create a Google Classroom, and then you are going to make a digital story that addresses these specific criteria. Okay, specific features of that technology that make it appropriate, address functions and features of the technology that align with ISTE, and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to read all those to you because you can read them yourself. Okay, I'm going to talk about what a digital story is just in a second. The second part of this assignment okay, is to, well, let me just back up. One thing I do want to talk about is you're going to make that you're going to make that digital story, you're going to upload it to YouTube, and then you're going to place the link on Moodle, which is at the top of the page, a place for you to submit that link. Second part of it is you're going to reflect on this process, and you're going to identify a lesson that you could teach in your classroom using a student-centered digital story. You're going to identify the grade level, whether or not that story would be that assignment would be a personal narrative, historical, instructional. And you'll learn about this as you read about digital story making. Okay, then you're going to identify 1 to 2 ISTE student standards addressing the lesson and so forth. Okay, so the second part again is a reflective paper about 1 to 2 pages long. Okay, where you're going to address these items. Okay, and you're also going to place that at the top of the Moodle page. There's an assignment link there for you to submit that. Okay, so this is a technology assignment 1, okay, where you're going to explore a learning management system, specifically Google Classrooms, and then you're going to make a digital story about the various features of that, addressing these things, and then finally you're going to reflect on digital story making process that you just completed, and you're going to answer these things in written form or word process them. All right, so that's assignment technology project 1, and that is due July 18th, and that's all I have on that.